A major severe weather threat is going on in Southeast, and the reason being is this stark contrast in temperatures we're seeing in the South Central United States, where we quickly see the temperatures shift from being around the 70s in the inner Southeast to around the mid 40s in the Midwest, and that's creating a highly unstable and convective environment in the South Central United States, where we're seeing severe thunderstorms develop, bringing damaging winds, large hail, and the possibility of tornadoes throughout the Southeast. Here's the current radar in the southeast at this time, and we do see that there are tornado warnings issued throughout the northern portion of Mississippi. So make sure to be aware of that. Take cover, go into the lower level of your basement, because this could easily produce a tornado embedded in one of these supercell thunderstorms, where we're seeing just enough lift and convective available potential energy and wind shear with height that there's a high probability of a tornado embedded in one of these supercell thunderstorms. So you need to take the right precautions, and this could continue on into the later evening hours, into the overnight hours on Saturday, before subsiding, of course, as the atmosphere begins to stabilize. But make sure to be aware that a large area of severe thunderstorms are moving to the east throughout the northeastern portion of Mississippi, as well as potentially the Nashville metropolitan area as well could get involved with severe weather with this, as well as a possibility of flash flooding. We do see a very large area of heavy rain, and is expected to occur over a prolonged period, so flash flooding is possible in some of these thunder showers. This severe weather threat isn't the only thing we're taking a look at for the eastern half of the United States. There's also a significant snowstorm that's soon to develop for much of the Great Lakes region, as well as the interior Northeast. If I were to continue to move forward with the forecast, like I said before, there's plenty of instability, plenty of convection, and eventually this convection will encounter a cooler air mass just to the north of it for precipitation to fall in the form of snowfall for our next major snowstorm to develop. So we're going to see that the snow should develop as early as the morning time on Saturday, and moving on into Saturday afternoon, where the area of snow really expands. We see very heavy snowfall throughout Milwaukee, where Milwaukee could potentially see over 6 inches of snow. And for Chicago, this will most likely be entirely a rain event, but don't rule out the possibility that maybe snow could move in on the backside of this storm system, where the temperatures will drop potentially just enough for some snow showers to occur in the Chicago area, but any accumulation should be less than 1 inch, as the current forecast is that it's going to entirely be a rain event for Chicago. Same goes for Detroit. It seems like the southwesterly winds at this ridge located just off the coast of the southeast are going to be a little bit too strong, to a point where a lot of that warm air is going to filter into the southern cities and prevent the possibility of snowfall. This includes Cleveland as well, but in northern Michigan, Wisconsin, and northwestern portions of Illinois, as well as Iowa, you need to pay close attention to very heavy snowfall, where you could experience 6 to 10 inches of snow and a large area of 3 to 6 inches as well. And the snow should move into the interior Northeast. We see that this storm continues to intensify. And as for a severe weather threat, it definitely subsides as we continue on into the weekend. This is as a result of this low pressure system moving a little bit further northward, so it's absorbing less of that very warm air mass that's located in the southeast, so there isn't enough convective available potential energy or enough water vapor to really create significant severe weather. As this moves northward, the temperature just isn't warm enough to hold a lot of water vapor, so we aren't going to see that severe weather threat move northward along with this storm. But make sure to be aware of rain showers throughout the southern Northeast by this weekend, and then of course heavy snowfall just to the north of this low pressure system. The certainty is very high. This snowstorm is only within 24 hours out from impacting the Midwest, so the certainty is very high at this point. There's any variations in the forecast will be very small, so if you're forecasted to experience heavy snowfall from this snowstorm. You need to prepare accordingly. And European model and the GFS model also agrees pretty much exactly with what the European model is stating when it comes to the exact area of where that heavy snowfall will occur. So moving forward beyond this snowstorm, it's going to be relatively quiet. There will be some isolated thunder showers that will develop by the late weekend into early next week for much of the southeast, but these thunder showers shouldn't be severe, mainly because there isn't going to be a lot of instability in the southeast. We're mainly going to see just regular thunder showers develop, but just not enough instability or lift to create another severe weather threat as we approach early next week. But just make sure to be aware of the possibility of thunder showers by early next week for the southeast. But moving forward, there could be a small snowstorm moving through the Midwest. I wouldn't expect any more than, let's say, 1 to 3 inches of snow at the worst, as the area of snow will be very small. And again, there isn't going to be a significant jet stream dip to create a highly convective environment for this area of snow to become large. So I don't expect much from this low pressure system as it moves eastward. But moving forward beyond this point, we're going to see another low pressure system develop, but again, there won't be a ton of instability for any severe weather to occur. The next possibility of severe weather may occur by late next week as we approach the end of March into very early April, where we're going to see a low pressure system come off the Pacific Northwest coast. And again, there's going to be plenty of cold air behind it, so that's going to set the stage for an unstable environment to develop in the midsection of the country for our next potential severe weather threat to develop. It's still uncertain regarding how severe this severe weather threat will be. Really all depends on how much cold air will be behind this low pressure system and how strong this ridge is, because the stronger the ridge and the cooler the air mass is behind this storm system, the more likely the impacts will be a lot more severe, where tornadoes may be possible if the instability and lift is high enough for much of the midsection of the United States. But it's still difficult to determine when we're still 7 days out from this event actually occurring. We're going to need to pay close attention to how the jet stream maneuvers itself over the next several days. I wouldn't say we will get a good idea until the Tuesday timeframe, once this low pressure system actually moves ashore along the coast of California. That's when we'll get a good idea of how much cold air will be behind the low pressure system and how this ridge will build. I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days, but just be aware that there's that possibility of another severe weather developing by late next week. So I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days. And the GFS model does indicate that a severe weather threat should develop in the midsection of the country by late next week as well. While it's far from certain that the severe weather threat will actually occur, it's definitely more certain than not at least some sort of thunderstorm activity will occur by late next week. So I'll keep you guys updated regarding any changes in the forecast between the computer models. Here's a snowfall forecast over the next 5 days. We do see that a large portion of the Great Lakes region is expected to experience 6 to 12 inches of snow if the GFS model's forecast was correct. And we even see the snow move as far south as Chicago. While I don't believe the snow will move that far south, Chicago, it's going to be very close to the rain snow line, so you don't need to go very far northward to experience very heavy snowfall. And we even do see that the GFS model is expecting a decently large area of over a foot of snow, but I do think that the GFS model in this scenario is exaggerating with this forecast, because this is assuming 1 inch of rain equates 10 inches of snow, which isn't always the ratio when it comes to the amount of snowfall you should expect. And the GFS model expects how much snowfall accumulation just purely based on how much snow is falling from the sky rather than how much snow is actually sticking on surface. And of course, it takes time before the snow really sticks on surface, so it should be lower than what you see right here, but you should at least expect 6 to 12 inches if you're in the pink or purples throughout Michigan as well as Wisconsin and the northern portion of Illinois, but just north of Chicago, as I don't expect Chicago to experience as much snowfall as the GFS model is forecasting, because the European model is a little bit less confident in that, and the European model been the slightly more reliable model over the past several weeks when it comes to winter storms like this. The European model we see is showing a forecast that's fairly similar to the GFS model, but there are key differences. For example, the snow is a little bit further northward than Chicago in this scenario, so Chicago would experience more like an inch of snow rather than the 6 to 12 inches of GFS model was forecasting, and the European model is also likely exaggerating with this snowfall forecast. You should primarily expect no snowfall accumulation from this storm. Don't rule out the possibility that maybe it could move in, but I'll say more likely than not there won't be any snowfall accumulation for Chicago. But Milwaukee, northern Michigan, as well as the interior northeast, where portions of Maine, the higher elevations of upstate New York and New Hampshire and Vermont could experience over 6 inches of snow, and a large area of 3 to 6 inches is expected. So be aware of that as we approach this weekend. Another thing I want to show you guys is the rainfall forecast over the next 5 days, because there is that possibility of flooding throughout the Ohio River Valley as well as the Southeast. We do see that over the next 5 days, there are some areas that could experience over 3 inches of rain, which would definitely be significant. And a lot of this rain should fall at a very fast clip associated from this current storm system moving through. So be aware that of the possibility of flash flooding, even though in some areas you would experience maybe only an inch of rain. That inch of rain could fall at a very fast clip for flash flooding to occur, and for flash flooding, it doesn't really matter the exact amount of precipitation. What really matters when it comes to flash flooding is how fast that precipitation actually falls, whether it's 1 inch of rain or 10 inches of rain. Flash flooding could happen with even limited rainfall amounts, thanks to how fast all that water drains into the smaller creeks and streams. So be aware of the possibility of flash flooding throughout the Ohio River Valley and the Southeast, as well as we approach later into the overnight hours on Saturday, and even beyond that into the weekend, where thunderstorms will linger around for much of the Southeast. So here's my current forecast when it comes to severe weather and snowfall for pretty much of the eastern half of the United States. Expect 6 to 12 inches in Milwaukee, northern Michigan, as well as portions of the higher elevations of the interior northeast. You should expect a high probability of tornadoes, at least somewhere in the red or oranges, as the instability is very high. So is the wind shear. So tornadoes are likely. So make sure to take cover if you're under a tornado warning. Flooding is possible as well in the green area. And then we are going to need to pay close attention if this severe weather threat will develop by next week. But I will say it's more likely than not. It's just the big question remains, how severe exactly will this severe weather threat will be. But I'll keep you guys updated. But thank you guys for watching.